welcome everyone in this webinar. I'm a mechanical engineer myself, so I know the struggle you have sometimes with projects, and I want to show you what we do as a Business Savvy Academy, and I would like to take you to the various steps of becoming a Business Savvy engineer and also my experience that I have. So, we're talking about the business side of engineering. So why should you become a Business Savvy engineer? Well, let me first start with, why are you an engineer? And maybe we can put this on the large screen. Well, this is the prototype of an engineer, so to say. It's even a male, yeah? Not even a female. So why are we not talking about male and female? And this is the engineer who is curious, who wants to solve problems, who is eager to learn, and also always looking for new stuff to learn and to develop themselves. Now, let's have a look also what is the world today. Engineers create tremendous world or value. You know, they build tomorrow's world. They do incredible work. And I'm not talking about the engineers on, with Elon Musk or Richard Branson, the SpaceX and those kind of things. I'm also talking about the engineers that are, if I may say so, the bread and butter. How we live in our society. You know, civil engineering for logistics, transportation, geo-engineers save us from all the dangers from nature, for instance, mechanical engineers, electrical engineers, you name it. So do we realize how much value they add to our society? And that is something what I miss. And in my 10 years working with an engineering company, I was working with a company that was the largest independent engineering company in the Netherlands. So we had about 600 engineers, smart people, very good people. And every time at the end of the year, we were looking at the results, and they were very thin. And I'll come back to that later, how that happens. So is there really the appreciation for the engineer? And do we see the added value that engineers create? Do we see that back in the results of the organization? Well, by asking this and having this webinar, you say, well, maybe not. So how can we change that? How can we change these things that for the engineer, it's more rewarding? The performance of the organizations who do that are making better results or creating better results. And I'm not talking about work harder, but it's about working smarter. Now, maybe we can put this on the big screen. Today is a dynamic world, and organizations are looking for employees with a broad range of business expertise. So not only looking at the technical side, but also on the business side. And why is that? Because the leadership of today wants to have all the employees contributing to the higher goal of the organization. Understand what this business means, and actually talking the language of business. So we talk about strategy, we talk about how to influence or to motivate people, to how to lead people. What are the financials, what are the operational numbers? Those kinds of things are really important, so how you can contribute to the higher level. And it's not only about the organization, it's also about the engineer. So the engineer will grow in a professional and a personal way. Suddenly he can talk about financial numbers. Maybe he doesn't want it, but he has an understanding of it. Suddenly he can ask his client, how is your business doing? How nice would that be? Instead of, well, this is my work and yeah, difficult to talk with the client because I don't know anything about his business. It's not that difficult. You know, just make that step, but we'll come back to that later. So, today's dynamic world, what do we see? On the left side, you see here maybe the conventional way of running an organization. The board or management, a strategic plan, KPIs, top down, boom, to operational and the employees and the engineers in this case. Not knowing what to do with it, you know, and also research shows that about 70% of the implementation of new strategies fails. So only 30% is successful. And what today's leadership is looking for is the input from the engineers, from everybody within the organization. And in our case, what we look at organizations, it's from the CEO to the receptionist or the cleaning person. They are all very important. People have their private life, they have their ideas about things, how to run, they have experiences. Just to give you an idea that I worked in Germany and we had somebody who was responsible for all the buildings. And he was doing a great job. And he retired. And I found out that he was already 20 years the chairman of a shooting range with 200 members. And I was like, why didn't I know that? Why didn't I know that? How nice would it be if I could have said to him, hey, with your experience, what do you think about this and this? And maybe he would have said, no, I don't want to do that. And maybe he would have said, yes, I want to do that. How great would that be? So you ask the person, what is your capability? And he will use his experience, his references, maybe not what he gained from work, but in his private life, and he can use also on his work. That's what we are looking for. Gaining and harvesting all the experience of your employees, all the engineers, to achieve the higher goal of your organization. Well, maybe a bigger slide for this one. So what we're looking for is you're still the engineer, you're still really capable or the expert in your subject, so to say. But on the other side, please also start speaking the language of the business, because it makes your life so much nicer, so much better, and it helps the company to grow and achieve better results for that. So that's what we're aiming for. Well, enough theory. Let's go into the skills of the engineer, what we're looking for, or what would be necessary to become business savvy. And maybe we can put this on the large screen because it's a few things. So I think every engineer should have effective communication. An engineer, don't get me wrong, you're really focused on the work, you really think, well, this is it, and then you have to present it to a group. And then you have to speak another language so everybody understands it. And maybe for you it's very clear, but try to change the communication, have effective communication, so you get everybody on board. And I'm just highlighting these things because we can talk days about all these kind of things. Management essentials. How do you motivate people? How do you implement strategy? How do you create a continuous improvement organization? All those kinds are important to make the next step with your organization. Then the third one, see the bigger picture. And what do I mean with that is, maybe I give you an example of that. We were working in Saudi Arabia with a maintenance team at an airport. And this maintenance team was doing their best, great work, that kind of things. But there was something missing, entrepreneurship, ownership, that kind of things. And we asked, okay, what's happening in Saudi Arabia? What is the bigger picture? What's happening with the airports? And then somebody said, well, Saudi Arabia wants to get rid of the petrol and oil and gas and focus more on tourism. So more tourism in Saudi Arabia means more airports where we can offer our services. That's what we mean by looking at the bigger picture. Yeah, another airport we were working, there were 3 teams, operational team, the technical team, and the platform team. And everybody was working hard in their own silo, achieving their goals, their KPIs, perfectly. But the client, on top of that, he was not happy. He didn't see any improvement. So also here, by showing the teams the bigger picture and showing what the client really wants, that's what we're talking about. You still can look at your own installation and it runs 100% availability, downtime is 0. Well, it doesn't happen, but you get you see what I mean. You know what I mean. And that's by showing the bigger picture of the for where you want to go. Financial accounting. Know the numbers. Don't become a bookkeeper. Please don't. But understand about cash flow. How important is that? Ebit, revenue, gross margin. Those big lumps, that's important. And how can you contribute to that? In addition to that, to the financial numbers that you know, also know the operational numbers. Very important also because they're so strongly linked with each other. Number 5, spot opportunities. Look around, what's happening in the world? Do you see any new technologies, new ways of working? How can it contribute? How can it help you to do your job better? Is it something worth for your organization? Is it worth something for your client? They say, hey client, we spotted this in the market. Is that maybe something for you? Let's have a talk about that. Become this business partner. Show that you are really a business partner with that. Number 6, last but not least, negotiation. As an engineer, maybe you have to work with a lot of departments. So how do you get everyone on the same page? Everybody has their own ideas about something, how to do it. And how are you going to help them to see the bigger picture also? So that's a part of the negotiation. It's not only with internally, but also with the client. You know, you're made an offer, the client comes back and says, well, interesting offer, but we have to talk about this and this and this. Are you the engineer with black and white? No, this is this. Or you say, well, what do you think? What is your idea about that? What are your drivers for this? What is your purpose for this project? What do you want to achieve with that? So these are the 6 skills which we say this is really important to become a business-savvy engineer. Let's have a look at today's business. Now, this is always the challenge of the engineer. You have the project in the middle, you have the client, you want something, you have the engineer, and you have the organization. The engineer is always looking to do a good project and to have a satisfied client. And that's normal, very good. You know, and he wants to do it very well and design it maybe with the golden edge on it. And then the project is finished. The client is happy, the engineer is happy, project is well, and then it comes to the organization, and the organization says, well, it was a nice project, and the client is happy, that's good. But we didn't make any money on it. Wow, damn, that's not nice. Because that takes away, that's a party pooper. That takes away the fun of the whole project, doing the whole project. So this is always the challenge. And we can solve it. It's not that difficult. Now, let's have an example of a project. Here you start. We did some research, and what we see is that on average, projects are sold with a margin of 12.5%. And you see the orange dot at the start, and then at the end of the project, we assume that we still have the 12.5%. But reality is different. Look what happens here. During the project, we're losing a lot of margin, a lot of contract margin. And we end up, in average, about 4%. Some do much better, but on average, what we see in our experience, there's a lot of margin is lost during execution of the project. And that's what we call the Bermuda Triangle. Your margin disappears in the Bermuda Triangle. Now, if we look again at it, is it only the 12.5% we want to achieve, or can we do better? Well, again, our research shows that you can do better. You can add 2.5% in your margin. Because if you're in control of your project, the extra work, the scope changes, that kind of things, you could add 2.5% and come up to 15%. So by not being a business-savvy engineer, you lose about 10% on margin, more than 10%. That's a pity. It's not necessary. So there's a lot of reasons why you lose the margin in your project. Scope changes which are not billed, additional work not billed to the client. In the proposal, certain costs are not included. And there's a long list of that. Well, that's maybe the bad news. And the good news is it's on your circle of influence. So the good news is you can solve it as an engineer. And not by working harder, but by working smarter. What we're doing here is looking at the results of 25 engineering companies. Randomly chosen, and we looked at their Ebit results. They are the big ones, the global players are in there. There are some smaller companies in there, but you see there's a wide range of results. And what we also found in our research is that during the pandemic, the sales or the revenue of these engineering companies were very stable. So it's a very solid industry also. Now, let's have a look at what this means. Well, first of all, we look at Ebit. Ebit is very simple. You see a lot of organizations, they report about EBITDA. Well, that's with depreciation, interest, tax, and amortization. Well, that gets a little bit difficult. Let's keep it just simple. Before interest and tax, the EBIT is the operational result. Very simple, everybody understands it, and it shows how all these organizations, how all the engineering firms perform. What you see here is that the majority, and we talk about 90%, something like that, is less than 7% of EBIT. And they still have to pay their tax, they still have to pay their interest. So the result is minimum. So you're looking here at the red one, well, that's an exemption. Something happened there and that was really bad. But here, the whole 5, 6, 7 and then down is just not enough. So at least you should be at 7%. Now maybe you say, well, 7% is far away. You know, yeah, I understand it, but it does not really tangible for me. Let me put it that way. Let's have a look at another one. Now we calculated it. The net profit per employee average from 2018 to 2021. There are companies that do 25,000 net profit per FTE. And again, there is a wide variety of profit made per employee per year. That's what we see here. And we can do really better than that. Now, you also saw this one, the high ones, the 15 and the 12. Very good. Year after year they do it. So how do they do that? Well, they do that in a very nice way. They use PMC. And that means product, market, combination. So what they do is a unique combination of a product for a specific group of customers. So they are really focused and they work in teams. They have their small teams. They say, this is our product, this is our market, these are our clients, and they know their clients very well. The Dutch engineering company I worked for, we had a self-recovery department. They were like a printing machine. It was unbelievable what happened there. Clients came in, especially from refineries, they want a self-recovery unit, boop, boop, boop. They ordered it, they executed it, always very good result. So, let's have a look then at the value stream, because that's where it starts also. And can we put this on the big screen, please? Let's start with marketing and sales. And we're now going to talk about the value stream of an engineering company. What I just said, determine your niche market, your client focus, differentiating products. How can you change? How can you add value? How can you just be different in a market where everybody is looking for it? What is your blue ocean? You know, the red ocean, blue ocean, where you say, hey, blue ocean, no competition. Red ocean, full of blood, a lot of competition. You want to find your blue ocean. How can we get there? Well, one of the things is apply PMC. Next thing is about making proposals, requests for proposals. What we see of a lot of companies and engineering companies are working very hard, making a lot of proposals, sending out the proposals, making overtime, extra work. And then we ask, okay, what is your win rate? And they ask, win rate? What do you mean by that? Well, if you send out 100 proposals, how many are awarded? And they don't know, sometimes they don't know it. But then we ask, okay, what's your gut feeling? What is your gut feeling saying? And they say, well, 25, 30%. That should be it. Okay, and they're proud about it. It's good. And then we say, okay, that means that the other 70% not awarded, the cost for that 70% of making those proposals has to be paid by the 30% of awarded proposals. And that gives a different approach or different view on the whole subject. Say, maybe we're not doing so well in that case. So this is what we do. We look at the win rate, that's where we start. And that automatically also says, well, What kind of clients do we want to work for? You know, what are the clients with the largest revenue we achieve? Or the largest profit we achieve? Totally different list. And then the third one, the most difficult one, is that, and what is your gut feeling saying? For which client do you want to work? And the list changes again. But that's the dialogue you want to have. Is the client that pays well, but you go there every time with like, not really happy? Or is it another client where you say, well, this is a cool client, and there we can work very nice, we make good money with it. Just make the selection. And what you will see is that from finding out, going through the data, crunching it, you have a starting point, and then, well, within 1.5 years, things have changed. So no longer 60% is lost, no 60% of your contracts of your proposals is awarded. Spending maybe the same time on your proposals, but with a higher win rate, and that makes it very attractive. So, what do we all have? Can we put it on the big screen, please, again? The bid, no bid. I just discussed it. So, which client are you going to bid for? Optimize your process. Work together with people who are really knowledgeable. You know, I used to work with the construction manager and the project manager, making proposals, getting all their know-how, their specific know-how into the contract or in the proposal. Positive cash flow. And maybe you ask, what do you mean by that? Why in the proposal? Well, what we see a lot is that proposals are sent out with a payment schedule. And sometimes when you're an engineering company, you also have subcontractors. But what you want to achieve, or what you want to do is that, or to avoid, you want to avoid it, is that you have to pay your subcontractor in advance before you get the money from your client. Because you're an engineering firm, you're not a bank. So make sure that your cash flow approach or your cash flow schedule is in line with the planning of your organization. And it's easier to change some numbers on your proposal than along the way in your project that you have problems with your cash flow. Proposal team, we talked identify risk and opportunity. Sometimes we're only looking at risk, and there's a lot of opportunities also. Look what opportunities are within your contract or the project you're going to do. As I said, win rate leads also to higher project margins. Higher win rate, higher project margins. Because you come much closer with your client, you become a business partner with your client. Your risks become less. Your client is seeing what kind of added value you're delivering and will accept better rates. The other one is billable hours. The right person on the right moment doing the right work. Maybe you say, yeah, well, that's a no-brainer. Well, what we have seen is that a lot of expensive engineers with specific know-how are working on proposals and working and changing the text and lining out the text and the graphs and that kind of thing. And there's an administration department who is working for that or would love to do that kind of work. So the experienced and high-level engineer, a PhD, he should be working with the client, making billable hours. Well, just by this little change and shift of work, you see what it can already do in a couple of months. So you can increase your billability by 8%. Or, the other one, lump sum turnkey projects. Well, we have a lump sum turnkey project, installation of a C cable. The team set together, what are the opportunities? And they identified a cost reduction of 10%. And we're talking about hundreds of millions here. And then they executed and they only achieved 8%. So, well, still a huge achievement what they did. The other thing is that by looking at this project closely and getting all the information of all the participants, they also were able to deliver the project 2 months earlier on a schedule of 24 months. And that's what the client would like to see. And when they said, well, we have some additional work and blah, 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 this kind of thing, the client said, sure, we'll pay it. You run the perfect project. We were ahead of schedule. It's finished. No problem with that. So make use of all the knowledge within your organization. Cash flow. How about that? 113 days before you get paid. What we also see is that sometimes only at the end of the month the invoices are sent. So administration is really working hard to get all the invoices out, mistakes are made, and invoices with mistakes are sent out, return, and it takes about 113 days to get paid. Why not send an invoice at the moment you are able, according to the contract or your agreement with your client, send out an invoice. Also chase or keep a process control on it. When is it going to be paid? Well, if we do that, you can change it with 30, or you can minimize it with 30 days. Well, I said, okay, nice. But what does it mean? What does that mean? Well, we did a little small calculation with that. Well, look at these 30 days that you improve, or 1 month, your cash flow. So 30 days, 1 month, well, let's say it's 4 weeks. 4 weeks divided by 52, you're 7.5% times your annual revenue. And that's your cash flow improvement. Also here with a company that had, the year before, they had a revenue of 10 million. Their profit was 400,000. We worked with them the next year. Again, the revenue was about 10 million. And then they improved the cash flow with 2 weeks. So 2%. 400,000 of the 10 million. Already extra cash came in that year. Well, it's not every year that you have this improvement, but it gives you the idea how much and how easy it is to make additional money. Because companies don't go broke on debt, they go broke on cash flow, not having the cash. Yeah, cash is king, and we say cash flow is the queen. Yeah? So that's what we are looking for. So these little steps, and by knowing as a business savvy engineer that you really understand how can we contribute at a better performance of the organization. Okay, and then we have the execution, sorry. Clear kickoff. Make a document with all the ins and outs of the program, of the project. Put it on paper, discuss it with your team. Not only the technical side, but also the commercial and the financial side. So are there any penalties? What is the payment schedule? What is the schedule we have to deliver? What is the client expecting from us? All these kinds. Have your programs meetings and don't discuss only the technical side. Please discuss also the business side. Where are we? How many hours did we spend already? How many hours do we still have to do? Are we still on track with our planning? Improve your invoicing, as I said also. And those kinds make it much easier and much more controlled to execute your project and to avoid that you end up in the Bermuda Triangle. Delivery, first time right, on time, quality plus. Do something special for your client. You know, when I worked for the engineering company, we did a design of building a new plant. And we made a video of the execution. How are we going to do that? And the client said, well, this is great. I can show it now at the head office. And we got the next job. Just making a video. And we're talking about end of the 90s. So in those days, it was quite new, so to say, to make a video and show it and give it to your client. Just those little things, those little extra things you show to the client, and which doesn't have to cost a lot of money, but it just shows this extra what you're going to do for your client. You really care about your client. Last but not least, after sales. So report out, what did we do? Talk with your client. What is his experience working with you? How did it go with the project? Maybe you used the Net Promoter Score. Is there any additional work in this project? Or can we sell more of our services? And these are the things we are looking for within the business savviness. Just get more grip of your proposals, of your projects, and become a business savvy engineer, and also become a business partner of your client. And, well, these are the numbers we can achieve. And maybe you say, well, that doesn't work in a big organization. Well, just start with a small department or a department and gradually work from there. You know, we work with teams of 15 to 20 engineers. It influences about 30 to 50 engineers because they start asking questions. So why are they still smiling? Why are they fun? And they're making great results. They're achieving great results. Okay, next step. But how do I become a business savvy engineer? Well, ask questions about the business. And if your manager or your leader or your project leader doesn't know, go to the finance department. Go to cost control in large organizations. What is the budget? How many hours? What's the forecast? What kind of things are we looking for? Ask questions. We have a lot of times that we talk to our clients and they say, well, what do you notice about your engineers becoming business savvy? He says, suddenly they are in my room starting asking questions about the business, which I sometimes don't know. So I also have to go to the financial department or other departments to say, can you deliver me this information? Because my engineers are looking for this information. So ask questions. It comes back to the second slide, because you're eager to learn, you want to know, you want to solve. That's your part as an engineer. Secondly, subscribe to emails or newsletters. Well, you have the consultants, McKinsey, Ernst & Young, the PwC, the Bain, whatever, you can name them. Read about magazines, Financial Times, Harvard Business Review, Forbes, Fortune. It's all for free, but you get a lot of information out of that. I had a manager in my days, and he would make copies of Harvard Business Review and all the other and then make copies out of it, send it to everyone, and that he said, read it, learn about the business. That's how you can start also. Say, hey guys, this is interesting. This is about the business. Maybe it's something for us also to learn. The third thing is business books, biographical books, how they started their business. There are a lot of examples in the market, and also company-specific books about organizations and how they build their organizations. So it gives you a good idea how the business works. Good. The next step, do the ASM course. Do this course about becoming the business savvy engineer. There's a lot of information about all the topics I mentioned, all the 6 topics. If you go to asem.org organization and you type in the search field business savvy, you get a lot of articles about what is business savvy and how it can help you to become a business savvy engineer. The other one is do the business savvy engineer program as a team. Have a look at our website. I'm not going to make too much marketing about our program, but have a look. You can find also there the presentation of today. And feel free to fill in the business savvy culture scan. Because it's not only about having Excel sheets with all the items to do and check the box, well, I did it, well, good. It's also about behavior, a change of behavior. And that's what we also measure in our program. We developed that with the University of Amsterdam. It's a scan, and on a regular basis, every 100 days, we meet the progress of becoming business savvy. Finally, one more thing. How do you start tomorrow? Number 8. It's a random number. Why don't you think about a number which is important for your organization, your project, your business? It doesn't have to be an 8. It can also be 100,000, 1 million, 1, whatever. Don't mention what the number is. Don't say it's euros, percentage, clients, whatever. Just a number. And before Corona, I would say, print it on a paper, put it next to the coffee machine in the kitchen or in the hallway or in the men's room, in the ladies' room, and wait. Don't say anything. People will come up to you and say, hey, this number 8, what does it mean? Don't say anything. Wait for a week and then explain to your colleagues. This number reflects, 8 more clients. Because if we have 8 more clients, we have an average on our awards is that much. So if we have 8 more clients and we get an award from each client, our revenue will increase by so much. And bottom line, that will mean that much. So just start very simple. People will look at the number and say, well, 8 more holidays, 8% more salary, whatever. And that's the fun in it. Let people think about it. They're interested in those numbers. They want to know, especially engineers. All right, that's it. Stay savvy, and thank you for your attention.